Hey, Mortgage Coach community, Dave Savage here, and I'm going to raise my energy to an even higher level than normal because I'm interviewing Jack Daly. What's up, Jack?
Hey, Dave. Don't take this as a challenge. You'll have to lose, brother.
No, bro, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I can keep up with you. I mean, maybe not in a race, but I'm going to keep up with you in this call, my friend. I'm going to actually push you.
Cool.
So to me, Jack is a mentor and a friend. I've known you for a lot of years. While we haven't seen each other a lot the past few years, because I've moved out of SoCal, I used to go to your holiday party every year. And whenever I think of you, I just think of success. Obviously, you wrote a book about growth, hyper growth. I just think of you as one of the best salespeople that's ever lived and one of the best speakers. If someone wants to take their career to the next level, I think of you.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, well, it's from the heart. So if you haven't read Jack's book, read it. He'll tell you more about it in a minute. For anybody that didn't see the interview that I did with you last year or doesn't know who you are, give us a little backstory on who you are.
Yep. Spent 30 some years in the mortgage business, built 6 companies from scratch into national firms, all of them very fast growing companies. The one in 1985 that brought me to California, we started with 4 people. 18 months later, all organic growth, 750 people, $42 million in earnings in the first 3 years. That ought to do it, huh?
Yeah. Well, by the way, guys, Jack could go on with the success stories he's had and the adversity that you've had. I mean, you've had amazing adversity. We could talk about the marathons you do. I mean, this guy is, we're talking to an incredible human being right now, folks. And I am going to recommend you read his book. So Jack, tell us a little bit about your book, because I'm pretty blown away with just how many times that book has been sold and read. How big is it now?
Hyper sales growth, and I'm going to bring you up to speed because we haven't seen each other in a couple of years. Hyper sales growth was the book that really hit the charts 3 years ago. The week of publication, Dave, it was the #1 best-selling business book on Amazon in 7 countries. I go on every once in a while on Amazon, and it's running out of stock again, type of thing. Last year, we had the great fortune of Forbes coming to me and saying, we're going to create a publishing company, and we'd like you to be one of the 4 starting authors. And the book was actually featured at Times Square on the big board on April 4th this past year. So that was really cool. The following year, I followed it with Paper Napkin Wisdom, which became the #1 best-selling business book on Amazon. And then just last year, we published the sales playbook for hyper sales growth, which is almost like a textbook. And that book also became #1 best-selling business book on Amazon. 3 consecutive years, 3 books. By the way, there's no other author on the planet that can lay claim to that right now. Cool stuff. You bet.
Congrats on that. And so I'm going to, again, I interviewed Jack Longer for the community. I'm going to put a link below so that you're watching this on YouTube. There'll be a description. And I'm also going to put a link in Amazon to one of Jack's books. You can figure out all the others. So Jack, I mean, first of all, what is hyper growth? Like, again, I would define that one way. How do you define hyper growth?
One of the mortgage companies that I built, Dave, 1998 was ranked #10 on the Inc. 500 with 10,100% growth. That's not bad. One of my clients 3 years ago was #2 on the Inc. 500 with 24,830% growth. One of my clients that is publicly traded, last quarter, the increase in stock price was greater than the total capitalization that it went out when it went public 7 years ago. 500% growth in the last 4 years. That's what I'm talking about. Not talking about 5 and 10% growth a year. I don't really get excited about any of that. Anybody can do that. Let's put ourselves into the top echelon of performers. That's where I come from.
Wow. All right, so let's bring this down to the mortgage industry. So a lot of the folks watching this are among the nation's most successful loan officers, and you know who they are. I mean,
Absolutely.
You know that human being, and they have teams. Some of them are branch managers, some of them are regionals, and the fact that I have you on this call, we will have CEOs. But speak to them, like what are the biggest challenges to hypergrowth, and try to do that in a way that is on point with mortgage leaders?
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you that I don't really need to specify it with mortgage leaders, even though my experience in building companies was all in the mortgage industry. But I'm out in the world for the last 20 years, speaking to every industry imaginable. But there are commonalities amongst them. I'm going to tell you about the three sins that I see that hold companies back from really hyper growth. First sin: the CEO owner also is wearing the hat of the sales manager. Now, I could go on and on about that, but here is the issue. I've been the CEO of mortgage companies, and I've been the sales manager of mortgage companies. Guess what? They're full-time jobs if you're going to do them right. My largest sales force in the mortgage industry was 2,600 originators. Don't tell me that I could wear the CEO hat while I'm wearing that other hat. This is insane. By the way, if you have 10 sales people, if you have 10 loan originators and you're the CEO, if you try to do the CEO's job and the sales manager's job, one of those is going to get blown, if not both. They're both full-time jobs. The way to hyper grow is to grow your sales force in quantity and quality, and that's the job of a full-time sales manager. Second sin: we take the best salesperson that we have in the company. We take the top loan originator and somehow we make them the sales manager. And we don't tell them how to do that job. We just assume, well, shit, they know how to do that, to be a top originator. Of course they're going to be able to show 8 or 10 other originators how to do that job. No way. They're entirely different skill sets. And so what happens is we give them the quote unquote promotion. We leave them to their own, and they're a deer in the headlights. And then after a while, we're wondering what happened. So what happened is you lost your best loan originator and you got a mediocre at best sales manager in the trade. Second sin. Third sin: this one drives me nuts. We take the best loan originator that we have, we make him the sales manager, and say, continue with your book of business and work the market as a sales originator. Crazy. The only thing that we're going to talk about in terms of performance is we're structurally designing our companies to be a laggard. We're not structuring them for hyper growth. So that, in my opinion, has to be dealt with straight on by the leadership team of a mortgage company. No question about it. First order of business.
Okay, so first of all, as much as I agree with you, there are different jobs. In our business, the majority of branch managers are producing branch managers. And there are some incredible success stories of producing branch managers that are doing $80 million in personal production and $500 million in branch production. So it's not like it can't be done. And I'm with you. And I just want to make sure, while the industry needs to get to a model of management is management and production is production, I'm with you. But I also know that when people listen to this, it's not like, okay, we're not going to have producing branch managers overnight. That's not going to happen. So what can, and let's not speak to producing branch managers. Let's talk to a loan officer, and let's not talk to someone who's struggling. Let's not talk to the top 1%. Let's talk to the kind of the core producer, and what are some ideas to get to the next level? What are specific ideas and strategies that will help them get to the next level?
Cool. So the first thing that I would tell you is sports teams are run better than most businesses. There isn't a coach in any sport at any level that would consider putting their players on the field without a playbook, without the systems and processes that will enable that team to win more than they lose. Can you imagine running 2,600 loan originators, which is what I had? Can you imagine each guy selling to their own style? There aren't 2,600 best ways to be a top producer. You've been hanging with you guys at Mortgage Coach. That's what you do, is work with the top loan originators. And what do we find? Commonalities of performance. It's one thing to sign up for Mortgage Coach. I'm all about that. That is part of the playbook. But the question is, when you build the playbook, are you using it on a regular, ongoing basis? That is absolutely key. Not when you happen to be in the mood or occasionally you think that it might work, a regular, consistent application of the mortgage coach within the playbook. So there is a variety of systems and processes that have been proven to be successful. So if I'm talking to that middle group of loan originators, what I want to make sure that they're doing is I want to make sure that they're modeling the masters. Modeling the masters. If I were joining a mortgage company, no matter what level I was at, I'd want to know who the top 1, 2, or 3 originators were in that company. And what I would do is I would buckle myself to their belt and I would shadow them for a week. I'd want to find out what they do and why, what they don't do and why they don't do it. I'd want to find out what their pipeline management system is like. I would find out what their touch system is like. I would find out if they use an assistant, what do they use an assistant for? I'd find the 5 reasons that caused them to be so successful, the 5 potholes they experienced in their career. Literally, I would take the number 1 originator and strip them clean of everything that they're doing. The next week, I'd go out with number 2 and do the same thing. Number 3 and do the same thing. My 4th week, I would take everything I learned from them, everything I already know. I'd build myself a sales playbook, and then I'd practice the playbook and mirror what the top guys are doing. This is not hard.
Yeah.
And so to get your ego out of the way, go find out what these other guys are doing. They don't have a better product. They don't have a better loan program. They don't have a better price. They don't have a better economy. What they do is they have a better system and process, and they consistently apply the system and process. It is called the sales playbook for hyper sales growth. And in our sales playbook for hyper sales growth, Dave, I'm going to tell you and the listener that we have an app that's built in for free that you can download every form, every process, and then customize it to your company and your personal use. Build your playbook and follow the playbook. Secondly, model the masters.
So,
now,
go ahead.
Let me give you one more. When we study the top originators, what they are maniacally focused on are what we now call HPAs, high payoff activities. And we are all given the same allotment every week, 168 hours. Some of us are doing a better job with our 168 than others. If you, Dave, get psychic value from washing your car, then I would say you should wash your car. I get no psychic value from washing my car. I love the fact that I got a guy that comes here every week. He shows up at my house. He does the cars. They're all done. I'm in here making money while this guy, I'm paying him this low rate compared to what my hourly rate is. Focus on high payoff activities and throw out either outsource, give it to someone else in the company, or quit doing the things that you shouldn't be doing. I model my life after superstar type people. I'm thinking like I'm 250,000 miles in the air. I don't want to be coming back after 6 weeks on the road and screwing around with my mail and paying bills and doing bank statements or something. I just said, hey, look, Mick Jagger, when he comes back from tour, he ain't going home and doing this stuff. It ain't a HPA. It's no high payoff activity. So if you don't have an assistant, you are one. And so I have 7 personal assistants that enable me to be on stage, which is my core business, which is where I make, $20,000, $25,000 an hour. So when I'm making $20,000 to $25,000 an hour, I can afford to have a whole bunch of people doing all the other stuff. A loan originator in the same mentality ought to know what their hourly rate is, and a commission loan officer does have an hourly rate. Figure out how many hours you work each day, add them up for the month, divide the money you made by the hours, your hourly rate. And whatever that hourly rate is, give yourself a raise and put yourself onto the HPAs.
Love it. So the beauty here for Mortgage Coach community is we have hundreds of the best loan officers in the country that use Mortgage Coach. 34% of the best use Mortgage Coach. I interview them. You have that content. If you are not getting that content, you are not watching that, you are missing the boat. If you are not implementing that, you're missing the boat. We all know that giving a family a total cost analysis is going to be the best experience for the family. It's going to get you the best conversion rate. And if you can't do it in a way that's super fast so that you're fast with your workflow and you're delivering this amazing, memorable experience, I mean, you're missing it. So you got to get Jack's book. Get his playbook so you know what a playbook looks like. put a link to it down below. Just click on it, buy it, read it. You'll know what Jack Daly thinks is a playbook. And then, like I said, you've got calls you can listen to, but there's there's no comparison to getting face-to-face. Model people who you respect, who are incredibly successful, and don't make any excuses. If you're not having the success you want, it's just you. You got to execute. Jack, any last words of wisdom before we wrap up today's call?
People tell me all over the place, what's the number one secret to success in selling? It's one word, grit. Grit. Never, ever give up.
Love it, my brother. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the passion. I want to bring you back in and do this again next month, and we'll talk soon.
Great to see you, Dave.